Welcome on back, Speed Gaming. It is Ryushan yet again for our third Dark Cloud Utan percent race. Today we have Casual Speedrun and Stackacheeseburgers, another two very talented glitchless Dark Cloud runners. Looks like they are good to go. We're just going through some options now, it looks like. Making sure our time is slow and our messaging is fast. We want to make sure we clear through all this dialogue as fast as we possibly can. But this is our third race out of many we have going on here for a tournament style Utan percent for Dark Cloud. I believe we are starting to count down here very soon. Anybody not familiar, this game was released originally on the PlayStation 2. It is one of the oldest roguelite rather, I believe, games that exist. It has RPG elements. It's got roguelite features for dungeon grinding and a robust weapon upgrade system. Very good game, both casually and as far as the speedrun is concerned. I know many of us who are true fans of Dark Cloud have been begging for this game to come back and see a resurgence. Now, it is available, as I understand it, on the PlayStation Network. So you can go to the Sony store and purchase this for the PS4, PS5. It still exists there. I do believe some of the glitches still even work. Looks like we have already begun here on Stackacheeseburger's side. We're going to sync it up here before too long, so casual speedrun's not going to look like they're behind. All that matters is when that timer stops. Right, so we start out here with this dialogue. Looks like we're just reading a story out of a book. It's going to tell us about our main character, Tone, and his village in the world that he's in that has been set upon by the Dark Genie, who is uprooting everything. Is the Broken Dagger glitch allowed? Not for this speed run. There is another category that I personally think would make for a very interesting race called Town Percent. Town Percent is effectively running the game mostly glitchless, but you would use the Broken Dagger glitch as the one and only allowed glitch for that speed run. You do primarily use that to upgrade your weapons. Anybody familiar with the Broken Dagger glitch, you can create a Broken Dagger out of your shop. That Broken Dagger, instead of acting as a broken weapon, is allowed to be used as an attachment. That attachment, much like all other attachments, does boost the stats of your weapon, but the very unique function of the Broken Dagger allows you to max out every stat available for that particular weapon. So if your weapon can cap at 25 damage, it's doing 25 damage, 100 durability, you know, whatever the maximum for that particular weapon type is, which does make it very quick for upgrading your weapons. So you can always locate a weapon, spawn in as many Broken Daggers as you need. Once it meets the level requirement, immediately just upgrade that weapon. Very fun glitch to use for the speedrun as well as casually. So a little bit story-wise, what we've got going on here. We went and we talked to the mayor. He's the one and only surviving member of the village of Naroon, who just happened to be holding on to the key for the dungeon. So we talked to him. He let us know exactly what's happening as far as the village is concerned. All of the villagers have been whisked away by the Dark Genie. We don't know where they're at. We don't know how to find them, but we feel like Dran, the mythical beast who watches over the village, will be able to tell us more. So we're going to go into this dungeon. We're going to go and locate Dran, who was found, at the very end of this dungeon. So he hands us the key to a teenage boy and says, go save the world. So here we are, saving the world yet again. One of the few things we are looking for these spheres that you'll see Stackacheeseburger has just opened up. We got a llama out of this one. That is where all of our villagers are. That's the townspeople the buildings, the accessories for those buildings, it's all right here. So we're going to gather up those spheres as quickly as we possibly can so we can rebuild this town. Looks like Casual Speedrun got very, very lucky with an early weapon here on floor 1. As you'll see, Stack of Cheeseburgers just had an item drop on the ground there. That would be our gate key. That's going to let us leave the dungeon. The dungeons are locked. Each floor is locked. We need to get out of here as fast as we possibly can. So we need those gate keys, which can be on a random enemy, with few minor exceptions. We'll kind of get through that here in a little bit. But those keys are on those enemies, and we just got to kill them, find our way through. You'll see Casual Speedrun just looted a bone key. That's a separate key that we are going to need here for certain door-related obstacles. There are character-specific obstacles, and then there are just obnoxious locked doors that we have to get through. Those keys are located in those chests, whereas our exit is located on some random enemy. So we need those gate keys. We need to get out of here. We want to find our Atla. Now, one of the unique things, and quite surprised that Stack of Cheeseburgers has decided to grab that even just one random Atla, floor 1 of Divine Beast Cave is very unique. It always has 8 Atla. All other floors can be randomized anywhere between 1 and 8 different Atla. Floor 1 is always going to have 8 Atla. 7 of those 8 are always going to be the same thing. So Stack Cheeseburger managed to get the one item that was not guaranteed on that floor, which was the llama, which could come in handy. It will be a required item later on. Doesn't look like Casual Speedrun has chosen to open any of those spheres, which is good. It is definitely a good time save. That may have been an accident, we're not sure. But we got a lamp. Lamp is useful, however, it is also one of the static items found on that floor. So not the worst thing he could have found out of that particular one. Alright, I'm being told there is going to be a quick refresh. Things might go dark. Nobody panic. We are hopefully going to fix those audio delays here in just a second. So we'll see Stack of Cheeseburger is standing right there in front of this little spring. This spring's as well as fill up your health. So those things being very, very important. All right, looks like it is back. Wouldn't be any fun if we didn't have some kind of issues, yeah? Yes, they are going to go for the better gaffer. So anybody who is a little confused by what that means, there is a shop in the game. Every village, every town is going to have a shop. The odd gaffer is going to be in control of the shop here for the first town. You can set up the shop one of two ways here in this one. You can get all of the parts for the old man, get him set up, and he gets everything set up on his own. At which point, you know, he hurts his back, and then he just has a little less to offer. Now, he does tell you in his dialogue, he says that his good buddy Pike, who also lives in the village, will help him from time to time, and if you manage to get Pike placed down prior to completing the odd gaffer's buggy, Pike will assist him in getting things set back up, and his inventory will be much larger. A lot of the things found within that are going to be weapon attachments, and bombs are included in that, as well as another useful item of the Duran's Feather. The Duran's Feather is, if I recall, part of the shop's expanded inventory. So those are things that we're absolutely going to need and want for the run. Bombs, specifically, definitely something that we're going to want. Alright, since we did go dark just very briefly, I am not entirely sure what we've picked up, what we haven't, but it does look like both of our runners are on floor 2. We have opened several Atla at this point. Looks like we are also opening up several chests. I would assume by dodging that dasher that we are either hyper-focused on... I would assume at this point that Stack of Cheeseburgers probably has the exit key to go ahead and get off of this floor. We were talking a little about managing resources. Resources are, you know, if you got your obvious health pool, you've got weapon durability, so each attack on an enemy is going to reduce your weapon's durability. The dagger is the only weapon that will be retained once its durability is eaten up. However, if you break an upgraded dagger, it is reversed down to its base stats. It loses all of its upgrades, so you definitely don't want to do that ever. Casual has 2 weapons now. That's very, very good. Not sure if Stack of Cheeseburgers has another weapon at the moment since we are still using the dagger. And it looks like, yes, we are using a Shamshir from Casual Speedrun. So I believe Stack of Cheeseburgers is probably going to be exiting here very soon. I don't see any more Atla, any more chests. We have found everything that we needed. So, and then on top of our health and our weapon durability, we do also have a thirst gauge. You can really think of that more as a hunger gauge that you see in a lot of survival games. This is one of those, if your thirst runs out, you start taking periodic damage as if you were poisoned. So a mild inconvenience. It can be mitigated several different ways. You can just drink water from your inventory. Works great, works wonderful. You could also opt for not carrying water, saving the inventory space, and just relying on these springs that you can see on Stack of Cheeseburger's side here. That spring is going to fully heal you as well as give you all of your thirst back, no matter how many you have, and there are ways to upgrade it, so you're not limited to just 3. You will eventually be able to have more. Yeah, statues with the dagger. Floor 3 is notorious for when the difficult you see your first difficulty spike. Floor 3 includes those statues, which if you haven't already found a better weapon, you're going to see a lot more challenge in trying to clear the floor. If you don't have a good weapon, ideally you're going to avoid those statues until you know whether or not those statues are going to have what you're looking for. So we've got roughly about 15 items, I believe, that we need to find. We're looking for everything for the Odd Gaffer's buggy. We're looking at everything for Tone's house. And then we are just looking for 2 quick items to help the Odd Gaffer. That would be Paige's house and Pike to fill in Paige's house. OPS powder. So you do start the game with just 1 repair powder. But ideally, you're going to wear out that durability as much as possible. Now, with a 4 on durability, there's a very strong chance that he can hit an enemy 1 more time before we're concerned about repairing. It is definitely something. The sound is not great. Nobody enjoys that, but we are ideally wanting to use as much use out of that dagger as possible before we repair. A couple different ways we can deal with these status ailments, because you see right now Stack of Cheeseburgers is poisoned. You're only allowed to have 1 status effect at a time for this game, so you can override those status effects. Ideally, what you'd want to do is use an antidote and just get rid of it, but you could do things like get a stamina buff, and what happens is it doesn't override it immediately, but it does take those buffs away, or it does take all the buffs and debuffs away at the same time. So if he were to use a stamina drink or gain a stamina buff through one of our wonderful RNG circles, he would gain stamina, but then he would lose poison as soon as the stamina also wears off. Big chest could be good if it's cursed, however, that's not immediately going to get rid of the poison either. We would need to do something that is going to eventually fade to really clear those. You could also, so right now we just grab stamina. Once that stamina, you'll see he's still taking periodic poison damage, but once that stamina falls off, the poison will also be gone. And it looks like we are seeing our first pull ahead as far as this race is concerned. We've got Stack of Cheeseburgers going into floor 4. This is somewhat of a little bit of a mini-boss phase. We've got a small group of enemies we're going to dispatch, and then we're going to find out about another unique feature of this game. This game has got it all. You know, it's RPG elements, roguelike elements, you know, robust survival mechanics, and then on top of all of that, we are looking at town builders and rhythm gaming. So right now we are heading into our rhythm gaming section. We're going to come across a duel where he'll just be given a sequence of actions. Once we fulfill those actions, we will successfully complete the duel. One of the great things about these duels is if you can hit the inputs perfectly, you will always be gifted with a random gem. These gems are going to be what sets the run apart early on. So we're ideally looking for something that's going to add attack stats or beneficial elements to our weapon. Looks like we did unfortunately miss the last one, so we're not going to get that gem. That also changes what we're going to get out of these chests. So the right chest is always going to be an item, whereas the left chest is always going to be the exit key for this floor. If you do not get a perfect clear of this duel, that right chest is going to be a random attachment. If you get perfect, it will be a power-up powder. Yeah, it's only a power-up powder if you get perfect. So it's a little bit of an insult to injury, unfortunately, not getting that perfect. Because now we miss out on the power-up powder. We also miss out on that random gem. That could make a pretty significant difference, especially considering that so far we don't know whether Stack of Cheeseburgers has an additional weapon. I think when we went through that repair menu, we did see that there was nothing else there. So I'm fairly certain at this point we are not looking great in the weapon department. And yes, it does look like casual, unfortunately, is doubling back for some Atla, and most likely the exit key is the more important thing that we're looking for here. Floor 3, not great, and it definitely seems like probably the statues. Of course, we did see yet another unfortunate thing here where the random defense from the enemy. So the statue dog is one of the few enemies in here who can defend himself. Enemies take absolutely zero damage, physical damage, when they are defending like that. And then the game just likes to double down, and when you get hit while you're defending, you still take damage. If I'm not mistaken, you still take full damage. So, you know, it seems like that defense mechanism is not as great as it needs to be for the player. But we are heading into floor 4 for casual. We're not out of this race. Anything could happen when it comes to Dark Cloud. The RNG is very strong in this game with what you're going to find out of any one of those atmospheres. If you have a higher defense value, it probably can be. Your defense value absolutely going to play a part as far as how much damage you're going to take, regardless of what that looks like. And then if you're coming back to play some of the older dungeons, to say do some of the back rooms and maybe look for you know, some extra gems and things that way, that's definitely something that, you know, you're going to see. You're going to see less damage. So casual getting that perfect on their duel, and we landed a pearl, not the most useful gem. It's going to add, I believe, holy damage to our weapon, and it looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers has broken the dagger yet again. Not a great look, because any upgrade potential that dagger had, which would have increased its attack, has now been reset. This will be the second time that we've broken our dagger for Stack of Cheeseburgers, so we are not doing a lot of combat. That dagger can still be used, but it's now going to be doing all once. Out of the first dungeon, I believe you can find stacks, I believe is what it's called. It's a very, very rare drop to get one of those out of this dungeon. Alright. Stack of Cheeseburgers forced to exit so we can resupply. And this is where we might start seeing casual catch up. We'll go ahead and swap audios. And landing a repair powder inside of that chest. Definitely going to help us out. Sax or Chopper. Thank you, Word. Word is very knowledgeable as far as this game is concerned. Bandit Slingshot in the later half of the dungeon could also be found. as many people are familiar with, the Bandit Slingshot could make a significant difference as far as what happens with this run. Double impact, not necessarily something you're going to see often when it comes to U10%. Double impact is more known for just the regular any percent categories, or the Saya percent, which is similar to Utan. It's just fighting up to the third dungeon rather than the second. Not too much point upgrading the Bandit Slingshot, because the Bandit Slingshot, even without any upgrades, is going to two-shot, if not one-shot, certain enemies in the hardest parts of the game that we are going to see. Looks like both players are on floor 5, so we have closed that gap. Stack did not die, however, Stack has broken their dagger a few times and has not found a replacement weapon. So we are working with a base dagger at this point, where Casual is got several weapons right now. Stack did leave the dungeon early because we were out of repair powder and we needed to resupply. And it looks like we're running across another big chest over on Casual's end. So just an absolute arsenal of weaponry to work with. That could be good for several things. We have our pick of whatever weapon we really want. Most likely going to stick with the Shamshir. If I didn't know any better, I'd say Casual made sure to take all of Cheeseburger's chest as well. Chris Knife is good. It's one of the most durable weapons, although the Shamshir does have a little bit more utility because it does come with electricity built already into it, which is going to make those early statues very, very easy. Chris Knife does have a little bit more of an advantage just because it has a little bit stronger durability. If you've got a lightning gem of any kind, or are gifted a gem that has lightning added to it, I would absolutely say that the Chris Knife is going to have a more significant advantage. And a treasure key, so that's going to be very, very good for opening up the multitude of chests that we are seeing. Those chests can come in 3 varieties. Those big chests, either you just get a normal big chest, congratulations, no fuss, no muss, we just get ourselves a wonderful, wonderful item. You can also find clowns. Those clowns are going to give you a 50-50 shot, or rather a 50-50 decision of a small box or a large box. Those large boxes will have your weapons, a chance of your weapons. The small boxes will have chance of gems. There is, however, a plethora of items that you can get from those, including fishing bait and powders and, you know, anything of the like. So it is always going to be a gamble which one you want to go for. I would say definitely early on, we're looking for weapons. We need something. Clown's very, very fun for that. And then we have our third type of big chest, which is going to be a locked chest. Those locked chests, you can gamble. One of 3 options of what the trap is. That trap could be poison, it could be a curse, it could also be, looks like we've broken our dagger again with no repair powder. So we are really struggling here on floor 5. But we could be dealing with poison, we could be dealing with curses, we could also be dealing with explosions. You know, you take your pick which one you hate the most. Personally, I don't like dealing with poison. I almost always choose poison. Unless I have an HP issue. If I've got an HP issue, then I'm usually going to take explosion so I don't die. So is the cat only for this dungeon? So your companions you're only going to use inside of dungeons. Looks like that statue had our key, so we are out of here, but mostly going to have to leave to refuel. But all of your allies are going to be usable only in the dungeon. You're not going to use them in the overworld. But that cat is just leading us through. Now, one of the things we haven't really touched on is that we are on floor 6 here for casual speedrun, and floor 6 is yet another difficulty spike where we start seeing mimics for the first time. Those mimics are just as tough, if not tougher, than some statues. Their movements are a little erratic. They hop up and down. You know, they can guard and do frequently guard, as we can see here. Just making them kind of an all-around pain to deal with, especially if you have not been fortunate enough to get another weapon. One of the wonderful things here that we can get from them, however, is a Dran's Feather, which we can see is now dramatically increasing the speed at which Casual is going to be running this event. So we might be seeing a larger and larger gap form if the RNG does not start being kind for our friend Stack Cheeseburger. Got to be real careful on this statue. We might break our weapon if we're not picky. Alright, we are choosing to swap to another weapon rather than repair, which is always a choice. You hear that wonderful dinging sound. That's going to let us know that an item has dropped. But yeah, if you've got a good weapon, I say definitely kill the mimics. Get you a chance for a Dran's Feather early, and that's gonna more than double your speed. Now, something we're also seeing our runners do is we're running at a weird angle constantly. You'll almost never see them run directly forward. It's usually going to be at some type of a side angle. That angle actually dramatically increases your speed, roughly about 25%, give or take, by holding that that precise angle. So a lot of what you're seeing here are going to be manipulating the camera in such a way that we are seeing our characters run, and that can be very easily measured with that run distance. So everything we need to go ahead and progress is going to be found anywhere between floors 2 and 8, 8 being only singular Atla, and that will be our wonderful Zhao. Anything else, realistically, we're looking between 2 and 7, with the exception of floor 4. 4 isn't going to hold anything at all. It is the choice if you have 1,000 weapons, absolutely. Alright, so we are heading over to floor 7 here for Casual Speedrun. This is going to introduce yet another mechanic to our game, which are going to be limited zones. These are special floors where you are beholden to unique rule sets. This one is reverse ABS. So ABS is the experience your weapons are gaining as you're attacking enemies. This is reverse ABS. So the amount of reward these enemies would normally give you is now being subtracted instead. Definitely a huge drawback. And we do have a death. Casual Speedrun has unfortunately fallen to an Opar. This might help us catch up, but now we've got Stack Cheeseburgers with probably the second most useless weapon we probably could have gotten. We got a Baslard. You know, it would have only been more insulting if we have come across the kitchen knife. But, you know, we will take it. It is a significant upgrade from our dagger. Casual Speedrun exiting for the first time involuntarily. That's right, better than nothing. It's, you know, if it's what we got, it's what we've got. Now, being on floor 6, I haven't seen much Atla being skipped, so it would appear that Casual may have everything to go ahead and have his shop set up. That fluffy donut going to add to Tone's defense. If we use it early, we might hang on to it for a very specific time frame. We do not have Paige's house over on Casual side, so we will not finish the Odd Gaffer's buggy yet, because that will trigger him to have a much smaller supply. Not the worst death that we could have had, absolutely. I will 100% agree. But, you know, it's never good when you are forced out of a dungeon. Go ahead and talk to the mayor, resupply. May choose to go ahead and repair all of our weapons. But floor 7 is unique, so on top of the reverse ABS, it is also cursed by default. So we will not be able to purposefully change our weapons. You can, however, break your weapon and be defaulted back to your dagger. if that's something you need to do. The better choice is to go ahead and just make sure we've got enough repair powder that that is not going to happen. So the buggy, he's got everything he needs for the buggy. He is, however, missing Paige's house. He has Pike, but not Paige's house. So without the house, we obviously can't put Paige down, or put Pike down into the village. Utan percent, the second boss of the game is called Master Utan. Utan percent is just an any percent glitchless run to kill Master Utan as fast as possible. So we are still looking for an exit key, and we just found the exit key here for Stack of Cheeseburgers, and we are back in floor 7 on casual. Unfortunate that we ran into that circle and it decreased our weapon durability. That's definitely not what you want to see, especially on floor 7, where those resources are vitally important. How many cheeseburgers is a stack of cheeseburgers? Well, I would say the minimum to be qualified as a stack of cheeseburgers is 2. So, you know, the sky's the limit from there, really. Yet another weapon that we definitely don't need, but what this is doing for us is increasing our wallet size, which is going to be one of the main challenges for this particular run. The utilization of bombs and throwable items is really heavy, especially within ally floors and within the forest when we get there. On top of which, the main strategy for clearing the second boss is throwing bombs. So we definitely need a decent amount of money, which is the primary reason for opening these chests. We're not necessarily looking for keys. We're not necessarily looking for upgrades. We need money. We need money, and the more things you can sell, the better off you'll be. Alright, so managing our inventory a little bit here. Looks like we went ahead and used that fluffy donut. I believe we should be repairing. There it goes. Stack of cheeseburgers catching up just ever so slightly. Now you'll see that nobody has taken any action against any bats. Bats are one of the exceptions when we're talking about those gate keys. Gate keys are not found on flying or floating enemies. So your bats, your ghosts, your witches, your hornets, if it's flying, odds are there's no key there for you. On very rare occasions in the Wise Owl Forest, you can get gate keys off of witches, but it is very, very rare that that happens. So it's theorized that those keys just don't interact well. The way that items drop just don't interact well with how those flying enemies work. Couldn't say why that was necessarily made as far as a design choice, but... So casual speedrun running up into our next duel. Unclear whether he's helpful or hurtful up until a pivotal moment, and then we find out, you know, you might not necessarily be a good guy. This is Seda. Seda is currently possessed by the Dark Genie. But Tone, being the wonderful, well-meaning boy that he is, he will save the world no matter what, so we are going to fight. So this is our second opportunity to gain a gem. And it is a very, very short duel. So these inputs are vital that we get every single one of them. And an opal. So first a pearl, second an opal. Definitely not great choices. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers is getting another large chest. Unless this is the clown, this might be very good. We might have another weapon to work with. Alright, gate key. So if we choose to skip some Atla, we might have a chance of catching up a little. There's a power-up powder that might make up for losing that duel previously. question Sata's motives here, because as you see, he's still possessed by the Dark Genie, and as we know, uh, why would a bad guy willingly help the good guy? And so he gives us a changing potion. This changing potion is going to be used to recruit our first ally, and we're going to change our wonderful little cat into a cat girl who fires slingshots. I don't think he was trying to be helpful. All right, at this point, we should have absolutely everything for casual to go ahead and exit and recruit our ally, as well as get the shop up and going. Stack of Cheeseburgers not too far behind at this point. We're heading into our second duel for Stack of Cheeseburgers, where hopefully we can get a useful gem. I'm still not seeing Paige's house, so it does appear that we have to backtrack, most likely to floor 1. All right, so it looks like, yes, we do have to return to floor 1. So the llama that we managed to grab out of that one sphere was just a coincidence. Now, again, on floor 1, 7 of those 8 Atla are static. So we are looking for just the one Atla that has what we're looking for. All we need for Stack of Cheeseburgers is Paige's house. Looks like we did hit every input, and we got an emerald. Somebody will have to tell me whether the emerald is useful. I know the garnet is useful. I believe the amethyst is useful. And we got Paige's house fairly early for casual, so we are out of here getting our shop set up and heading on to the second half of this dungeon as quickly as we can. I believe Stack of Cheeseburgers is in a little bit of a better position. I believe they've already got everything as far as the odd gaffer. Looks like we almost forgot to put down Paige's house first. Had we finished the event for the odd gaffer before putting Pike down, that would have been very bad for this run. Very nice green color. Excellent. 10 magic, 10 dragon, 10 plant. Okay. Alright. I don't mind the dragon being on there, considering we do have dragons to deal with, but those dragons are easily dealt with bombs. So unless we have a monetary issue, it's definitely not something that we are super concerned with. Now, in a casual run, the town building is quite entertaining. You can build these towns in very robust ways. The villagers do have specific demands as far as where they like to be positioned. They could request that the house faces the early morning sunrise. They might want to stand closer to the windmill, closer to the mayor's house. Various things like that. So there are those demands that they do have. If you fill those demands even just once, you can then rearrange your town however you like, and it no longer matters where those things exist. And then you do get a bonus reward for having 100% of the villager request made. So looks like we're both on these various cutscenes. Stack of Cheeseburgers just slightly behind in that regard, but we are catching up. That unfortunate death, I think, is what is making the difference. And once they're able, they're going to head back into the Divine Beast Cave, and we are looking for just 5 items spread out among, let's see, we're heading into floor 9. Math is hard. I believe 6 floors is where we're going to have to be looking for these 5 items. Alright, run becomes slightly easier now that we have more resources to work with. You're picking up repair powders for our weapons, revival powder for the unfortunate death, Dran's feathers to help move around a little bit quicker, and a lot of bombs that we're going to use to throw at most difficult enemies, namely those dragons, and likely the opars as well. Those two enemies notoriously being very difficult. Now, personally, if I were Stack Cheeseburgers, I think I'd be using them against the Raganoffs, the little boulder enemies there as well, just because our weapon's not as upgraded. Yeah, it is looking about even at this point, just given that death. So between the death and having to backtrack for casual, we are neck and neck. Monetarily, casual's still doing very well. It's got all of those weapons that we can still sell. Now, we did get rid of the opal for a quick 600 bucks. Raganoffs, yeah, no, they are not great enemies to deal with. And casual's back in the dungeon. Now, Stack Cheeseburger has already done all of the shopping that I believe needs to be done, so we are likely going to be seeing a dungeon re-entry here very soon. But all of our allies are going to have their unique obstacles that they are able to navigate. We've got Zhao here, who is going to help jump over those rivers, as well as the weapon of choice being a slingshot. As somebody who has lived as a cat for their entire lives, we just innately know how to use human tools. Alright, choosing to use those bombs against the statue. Very well. Could have easily decided to just swap back to Tone and use the Shamshir. But these are the type of decisions that are going to make a big difference of how we dispatch a lot of those enemies. Now, most enemies, whenever you use a throwable, a consumable like that, they do tend to drop items more often than not. So these items could be used to make a little bit more money. Slingshot is very useful for killing not just the birds, but just any flying enemy. You know, those bats, you know, hornets, ghosts, witches. The Moon Sea has a lot of those really awful flying enemies as well. I always get the name wrong. I believe it's Arthur is the name of the floating mech in the Moon Sea. I like to call him Alexander because he reminds me of Final Fantasy's Alexander, the summon for Alexander. Big robot. Both players back in the dungeon looking for things that we need. We've got windmill blades, not particularly useful. A couple of bonus things that we could find in here that could be very helpful to our run. We've got Auntie Laura's house as well as the old hag's house. These two houses are going to contain power-up powder. But not things that are absolutely essential. These are just things that could be nice to have. Now, another thing when it comes to defeating enemies by throwing those objects, you're not getting any weapon experience. So this could be something that if you're looking to make a stronger weapon, if you're needing a stronger weapon, that could be holding you back a little bit by making those choices. And that is absolutely where a lot of those power-up powders would come in handy. player so far with just one useful item for getting out of the second part of this dungeon. Players have their exit keys, so we're just clearing out what we need, looking for those exits. Even if, yes, so the way that the experience works for your weapons, it needs to be the killing blow. And you can actually cheese some of the experience because you don't gain experience on that weapon until the enemy disappears. So you can swap weapons to a different weapon between them falling and disappearing. You can even switch characters. Although I believe when you switch characters, you negate all experience gained because it's not going to anybody. So a very early key for casual here on floor 10. So we're just going to look for all of our Atla. We might even choose to exit this floor early. Getting Laura's house, another one of those items that I was talking about where you could use and grab your power-up powder. So there's the usefulness of having bombs for those enemies. Those bombs do proximity damage. So Stack of Cheeseburger was able to group up several enemies into close enough proximity. We killed them with just the one item. And here we have one of those trap chests. So we did choose incorrectly and got cursed. Not really a big deal now that we have a weapon that's useful and our shop is open. So it's not going to hurt us. But curse is going to prevent you from swapping weapons. So where you don't have a whole lot of repair powders, that is going to be a hindrance to you. Epic, a little bit more clarity on that. So Utan percent is an 80% glitchless run where we just run as fast as possible to kill the second boss. I would say casual just slightly ahead here based on the amount of Atla that we have found. And knowing that we could exit this floor whenever we choose. Is there an estimate time? Not really, only because this particular game has a lot of RNG elements. Most runs come in somewhere between 2 hours and 2.5 hours. But if you're extremely unlucky, it might not work out to be that. You know, some of my practice runs have even reached 3 hours occasionally. So 2:30, okay. 2:30 is what casual's aiming for. Now the world record time here for this one is 1 hour and 59 minutes and some odd seconds. So you know, any one of us. That's what we want. We've already seen so far, if you've been following this Dark Cloud tournament, have already seen opportunities where world record has been close. What is the goal for Stack? I wouldn't necessarily know what their personal goals are. I believe Sir Strife is likely friends with casual enough to know that we have personal goals for this race. Well, Putz, you are in for a treat. This game does have a very close speedrunning community. We have a whole tournament set up with multiple races. This is our third race out of a whole series. So we've already had a few. We are definitely more planned. We've got 9 runners total, so there are more runs planned. We also have a loser's bracket, so if you lose, you're not necessarily out of the race. Double elimination. Yeah, Sonic, we are looking pretty close so far. Stack of Cheeseburgers did have somewhat of an early lead. Casual did come back, however, and then it looked like may have given up the lead after a quick death. Stack of Cheeseburgers satisfied with floor 11, heading off to floor 12, where we're going to keep looking for those necessary Atla. Unless somebody has seen something I haven't, I believe we are only using one item so far. For that, we need another 4 to get out of here and build that windmill. Alright, seeing those king mimics for the first time, so those large chests can be deceptive, which unfortunate for Stack of Cheeseburgers because we could have used a better weapon. Still, Gladius is not horrible. It's definitely a much better choice than a Basilard, but we are not happy with it still. And so far, these Atla not giving up any of the items that we're looking for. We have exit keys for both runners here on floor 12, so anytime they choose, they are off of this floor and onto the next one. So far, Casual looking like we are up 3-1 as far as the items that we need. As Stack of Cheeseburgers is running low on bombs. Casual doing a lot better off in that department. Getting trolled by a second large chest with a king mimic. Stack's PB was looking about 210. Okay. I'm sure anything close to BB would make these runners very happy. So far, every race we've debuted has had a very, very close running. Getting caught on these enemies, still looking for more money. Heading off to floor 13, so we are getting close to the end of the dungeon for Casual Speedrun. Hear that stomping over on Casual's end, so we've got a dragon just right around the corner now. Those enemies that like to throw things at you have sniper-like precision, so we definitely want to be careful. I think Word knows something or two about forgetting about keys. Absolutely, Ichigo. We are doing an Utan percent race. We are racing to see who can finish the second boss as quickly as we possibly can. Definitely want to avoid that gas that the Opar is dropping out. That is going to have the potential to give you the gooey status effect. That is going to slow you down, even with the Dran's Feather. Hundreds and hundreds of hours. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody remembers doing the Demon Shaft, that was a time. The weapon's getting a little sketchy, but I'm sure we've got a close eye on it. So you can see the danger of those Rock'n'Offs over here. They don't stop moving even when you hit them. If they start rolling, they're not about to take any type of any stutter. They're just going to keep on rolling, and they will reach you. And when they do, that's when it's a bad day. We're still looking for 2 more items here. Absolutely, Ichigo. If you're not following Speed Gaming, make sure you do. This Dark Cloud tournament is ongoing. This is our 3rd race with several more to go. And Casual picking up that second useful optional item for the Hag's House to now have both Auntie Laura's and the Hag's House for 2 power-up powders. Of the 3 that are guaranteed available within this first village. But we did get hit with Gooey, so you can see Tone has slowed down. Now there is an option to go ahead and run into this RNG circle. This RNG circle could give stamina, and it looks like it didn't. So we are going to have to clear out that. We can use soap, or we can exit the dungeon. That is the less preferred method, but most likely one we're going to choose. Now, we could also just take a couple hits from an enemy and choose to use the revival powder. That revival powder will clear any and all status ailments as well. Looks like we've opted to run with Zhao, going to the exit. All right, and by my count, Casual just looking for one last item. So likely going to hit up floor 14 and just continue using Zhao until we get to the finish line here. Still choosing to open these large chests, hopefully going to find a bandit slingshot. We got the bandit slingshot. Yeah, I don't know if that we'll commenter luck is all it is. So we have found our best possible weapon for this run. This is going to start setting off a chain reaction as we start clearing these floors with a lot faster pace. So the bandit slingshot has got the highest attack value out of any available weapon for this section of the game. So we are going to use that, on top of which it does have the ability to steal items from the enemies. Now, these items can be useful items, they cannot be useful items, but at the end of the day, it is going to add money. So if money is an issue, this does help solve some of that. This is, however, also going to add a little bit of inventory to the players that they will have to manage. Yes, Epic. So it is purposeful having the cameras aimed and doing this directional running. It does increase the character speed roughly by about 25%. It is a very noticeable difference over the length of the speed run when you're talking about multiple hours. Still looking for the torch, if I'm not mistaken. But both runners on 14, so don't count Stack of Cheeseburgers out just yet. There is anything that could happen here. Choosing to fight our dragon. Stealing a fire gem, just another throwable item that adds fire element. Still a decent thing to use against plants. Specifically would be really good use. Doesn't appear to be too many Atla left on this floor. It's honestly hard to tell what color those orbs are. And there's our exit key, so Casual is most likely going to be leaving this floor very, very soon. All right, Stack of Cheeseburgers running into the obstacle door. Didn't have a bone key, but we found it in the very first chest we went back up and got. All right, looks like we did loot that torch without me realizing it. So we've got everything we need for Grand's windmill. And we are going to put the Hag's house down and grab that power-up powder. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers also having everything that we absolutely need. So it's just a matter of putting things together, going through these minor cutscenes and grabbing any and all optionals. We do have the option to grab a fluffy donut and a fish candy. That would be Zhao's defensive of choice. And Stack of Cheeseburger also getting that Bandit Slingshot at somewhere. So we've got 2 Bandit Slingshots for this run. I don't think we've had 2 Bandit Slingshots on any run so far. Getting them early like this, we are absolutely on fire. Could try and steal treasure keys. Yeah, you could absolutely do that. I would say that it's not worth taking the time if you've already got the exit key, but yeah, absolutely. Stealing anything from any one of these enemies, you know, is definitely going to add to that cash pool. Most of the money is going to be acquired through weapon attachments. Weapon attachments have a high resale value. Gems specifically, most of them selling at very high values, 500, 600 gold. Weapons also having a very high resale value. So if you need money, you know, opening those big chests for weapons could be something you want to do. I would say with Bandit Slingshot, however, I wouldn't be concerned about opening up any chest outside of the ones that I know are going to benefit me. So I am seeing a stamina potion here on Stack of Cheeseburgers in, which could very easily make Dran a very quick encounter. We'll see if we can spot one on Casual's end. Does not look like we've got a stamina potion here for Casual Speedrun, so it is going to be not as quick of a fight for Dran. We are probably going to see a good amount of hits. I don't believe we've upgraded our weapon too much at this moment. Fish tackles and talisman, yeah. Talisman have a really high resale value. If you ever wonder how much something is going to sell for, you could always look and see what the shop sells it to you for. Everything is always going to sell for half as much as what the shop sells it to you. So if you know it costs 20 to buy repair powder, when you sell it back, you're going to get 10. So still running around picking up what we call them miracle chests. So we've got several that we're doing: Fruits of Eden, fluffy donuts, fish candies, a lot of different weapon attachments. Kind of ironic that Casual Speedrun just had inventory issues as he was trying to pick up the pocket to fix his inventory issues. And we see picking up those gourds as well. Those gourds are going to increase the amount of your thirst gauge, whereas Fruits of Eden are going to increase your HP gauge. These runners likely going to be hanging on to those items for emergencies to refill their water and or refill their health. Now we do see that we are buying a couple more bombs. We did also pick up an ice element. Ice is the element of choice for Drain. Drain is weak to that, so it will make that fight a little bit simpler, especially when we don't have a stamina potion to work with. So Casual getting back into the dungeon to go ahead and take care of Dran. We are going to try our best to get Dran inside of a damage loop. He is going to flinch when he takes damage. The goal is to make sure that he doesn't lift back up into the air. So he's gonna start in the air. We need to bring him down using Zhao and her slingshot, which is actually going to be doing a considerable amount of damage. And then we're going to swap over to Tone, who can ideally finish this off. There's two popular strategies when it comes to this. You can either do a single hit or you can do a charged hit. And we'll just kind of see where Casual plans to take it. Now, Stack of Cheeseburger not far behind as we are going back into the dungeon, so it is anybody's game still. The dungeon music is some of my favorite. You know, if you guys really enjoy the music for Dark Cloud, I highly recommend that you look up a Dark Cloud lo-fi. There's several playlists on Spotify and YouTube Music that are absolutely wonderful. So it looks like we're going for the charge loop. However, we did miss, so we do need to knock him out of the sky again. This fight likely going to be going to Stack of Cheeseburgers, I would say, because we have a stamina potion. If we can remember it's there, it'll go by very quickly. Looks like our second attempt to catch him in a loop almost successful, so we are back up in the air again. Quick exit, although we got knocked down to the ground one more time. We did remember the stamina potion, so we are... I stand corrected, not yet. We have now remembered the stamina potion. We, however, got broken out of our damage loop, so we have Dran fighting back tooth and nail. And Casual has taken Dran down, so we will be moving on to our second area. That's going to be Matataki Village and the Wise Owl Forest. Yeah, anytime Dran he spins around, if you were too close to him, that hitbox is just innately going to do damage to you. Casual got a little luckier, I'd say, had the better weaponry going in here. However, you know, that stamina pot cannot be disregarded. It is absolutely doing some work. So neither player having the best time with Dran. That stamina potion has worn off, so this fight is dragging just a little here. Now we see here from Casual Speedrun, we are in Matataki Village, and we are about to meet our second ally, although we might not really know that yet. Spoilers, everybody, I apologize. But this is going to be Goro. Goro is the last remaining villager here in Matataki Village. It looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers has finished Dran, so we'll be joining very soon. Just a couple of cutscenes to go through. But Goro is the final surviving member here of the village. You know, the Dark Genie is not very thorough in his plans at conquering the world. We do need to leave just stragglers everywhere to lead our boy on his mission of saving the world. Flag is a bad boss. Yeah, Mr. Mustache, our wonderful, lovable shop owner, Mr. Mustache. He's a sentient owl. But here we go into another duel with Goro. Looks like we hit that diagonal, the only diagonal in any duel. We did complete it with excellent. Maybe we're going to get a useful gem for once. Another emerald for this run. Not the best gem that we could have gotten, but it is going to mean more money for the already loaded casual speedrun. Sentient and greedy. Yes, sir. That wise owl sword, we all wanted it. Nobody could afford it. Quick rename to Nobo. Don't know if that was intentional. It's trash. Yeah, the Wise Owl Sword, despite looking good, is not the most useful of weapons. Like we're climbing up this ladder. We're going to go ahead and run into Goro's house and grab a second pocket. There are 3 pockets available early in the game this way. We can get the one out of the mayor's house, we get another inside of Goro's treehouse, and then there is a third one available at Paige's house if we fully upgrade her house and do her event. That one arguably not, or less arguably rather, I think everybody pretty much agrees, not worth your time. When you were a kid, you named Goro Stacy. I mean, hey. And it looks like we've hit the diagonal, but we missed the last 2 inputs, so we did not get a gem here for Stack Cheeseburgers. Now, if you fail any one of those inputs that are not the last input, you do have the option of going in and retrying. Just miss whatever the next input is. It will consider the duel failed, and you'll have an opportunity to come back and try again. If you miss the last one, then you know it's kind of not great, but it is what it is. It looks like we are choosing to grab that pocket for Stack of Cheeseburgers as well. Now, Casual did go ahead and pay a visit to the tree, knowing the tree is supposed to give us a hand and tell us where to go. However, he is a little dried and shriveled up. The river is not running. The Dark Genie made sure that we couldn't get help from the more useful sentient beings. But we're making our way to the first floor of the Wise Owl Forest, where we are going to encounter a little change up to the way that the dungeon is going to be done. There are, instead of just 1, not just 2, there are 3 exit keys that we are looking for. We need the red berry, the chestnut, or the shiny stone. There is an owl gatekeeping the exit here, and he is very choosy about what he wants. Looks like we may have forgotten for a brief moment that we did have the bandit slingshot, but we have swapped over to Zhao. Zhao is going to be our killing machine. Very, very good at it. The slingshot only takes 1 durability loss for every pellet fired, whereas the sword or Chon's weapon of choice is going to take varying amounts of damage depending on what we are attacking. You know, we all used to think that we could tell what the owl wanted, and come to find out, no, we never know. We never know what that owl wants. What is Utan percent? Utan percent is an any percent glitchless run that focuses on getting to and defeating the second boss as fast as possible. So similar to our first dungeon, we are going to be opening up our chest looking for money opportunities as well as, you know, floor keys. We're going to be killing our enemies looking for our 3 exit keys, and then just hoping we find the one that the owl wants first. Both players choosing to fight with Tone a little here. Could be saving a considerable amount of time if we use Zhao for that. The owl accepted the first key that Stackacheeseburgers had, so we could be seeing a quick pull away. Now both players looking for 17 different items that are found in the beginning part of this dungeon. Similar to the first 8 floors of the last dungeon, we do have 9 floors of this one where we're looking for certain things. Once we find those 9, we are going to leave and acquire a few items. Once those items have been filled, we can pass through the midpoint of our dungeon. More notably, we're trying to put Cacal's house together first. He is going to have a flute that is going to be used to summon the snake out of floor 9. The other thing very important that we find are going to be our river pieces. Each river that we obtain out of these contain 5 river pieces. We need 25 total for the fastest reconnect to bring our tree back to life. We'll see if keys are something that Casual already has his hands on. Not the first key, not the second key, so we need to go back and we need to look for this third one. We don't have our stone. As it looks like we're pulling away just slightly here for Stackacheeseburgers. But Casual had what we needed, so we are going to go ahead and clear through floor 1. Now finding that perfect angle to run at here for our camera and our increased movement speed, a little bit trickier for this particular dungeon. Our hallways aren't as straight and clean as they were in the Divine Beast Cave. We do have these trees that kind of add a little lumps and bumps to our run. Can get stuck on those roots every once in a while, so getting through those corridors is going to be a little bit more difficult in certain places, especially if you have to fight your way through an enemy while you're doing it. We're choosing to save just a little bit of time here, running to the dead end, defeating all of our enemies before swapping characters. It obviously takes time to swap those characters, so we don't want to swap unless we absolutely need to. So we're just going to do a full clear of these enemies and then have Tone pick up those spheres afterward. And despite having those pockets, we are dealing with some inventory issues. We are a little too stacked on resources. Again, this is likely due to the theft mechanic of our slingshot. Like both runners finally getting into the groove of it, making quick use of clearing out to your dead ends and then finding or opening all of your Atla. Quick building definitely being one of the more intricate things of this game, especially when you get to branching weapons where you can build one way or another way. Now you end up with 1 or 2 of weapons when you do that. More times than not, you'll either get the 7 branch sword or you'll get the Chronicle Blade. The Chronicle Blade is the preferred weapon. It has the better stats to it. But the 7 branch sword, I mean, hey, if you get it, it's definitely a strong weapon of choice. And it looks like Casual did choose to open up one of those large chests, got a clown in, got a gem from that clown, although the sapphire not going to be used for much other than money for this particular run. The weapon system is very, very good. I think they improve quite well between 1 and 2 as far as upgrading those weapons are concerned. Stack of Cheeseburgers looting a sundew out of that chest here. He's going to save a little bit of time when it comes to getting to that last boss. That sundew is a required item. They do give you one through the storytelling of the game, but this is going to save some time in having to get that story-based sundew. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers choosing to ignore a lot of those extra chests. Didn't pick up that bigger chest. Doesn't need it anymore. He's got the weapons he needs. Not looking for any gate key or exit keys. We are just out of this floor. Starting to see a slight pull ahead by Stack of Cheeseburgers when it comes to this run. It could still be either player's game as they are both heading to floor 3. I'll be honest, I've done so many speedruns of Dark Cloud, I don't remember fishing. If you asked me to go fishing in this game right now, I would have a really hard time. I do know you can get quite useful rewards for those fishing points. I know that's where a lot of gems came from, as well as exploring back rooms. Back rooms are very, very good for getting additional weaponry and honestly a lot of experience if you know you're brave enough to fight those roided up enemies. Both players racing off with Zhao, trying to kill as much as possible. Got a few keys dropping on either side so far. We're probably still going to keep killing until we get all of the keys, or we have found and already acknowledged what the owl wants at the end. So here's a controversial take. Who is your least favorite ally and why is it Ungaga? Players slowly grabbing all of the various things that they need for their completion. Nobody's super far ahead in that regard right now. It's pretty even. Naga is weak, he says so himself. Yeah, he does say that. It's very questionable why he is one of the only warriors in the village. You like watching those 3-minute spinning animations? Stack of Cheeseburgers has had his key accepted, so we can leave this floor whenever we choose. Osman is just a bad Zhao. Yeah, but Machine Gun Kelly is pretty entertaining at least once. Still better than Goro. I think Goro is all right. Anytime I recall having to use Goro, I remember doing charged attacks mostly. Now, if we're questioning the obstacles of the moon sea, let's just remember that we flew to the moon in what is essentially Noah's Ark. I think the thing that makes allies the most difficult is the weapons you start with aren't even really well tuned for the dungeons that you're doing. Ungaga, Goro, Ruby. Well, I would say Ruby might be a minor exception. Their weapons just aren't finely tuned for those dungeons. They still struggle in the earlier stages, so if you don't get a new weapon for any of those characters, you're gonna have a bad time. Why can't Ruby fly over Zhao's obstacles? I would say that you have a very valid point considering Osmond can do that. Definitely seems like Ruby should have been able to handle those as well. It's like we had an accidental death here from Casual Speedrun. This is the exact reason why we carry a few of those revival powders. Nobody's perfect. We might take a hit or two. No mustache key for Casual Speedrun. This might gatekeep just a little bit, quite literally, as we're not sure what is behind that door at the moment. Looks like stackacheeseburgers still choosing to open some of those bigger chests. Maybe we're looking for some more money. So we see these hornets here. Now we did accidentally, and I say accidentally because most likely that was an accident. Those hornets are again some of those flying enemies that just are not going to have anything on them. Gate keys to speak of from those enemies. Oh, can't carry any more weapons. Looks like Casual has not sold off any of his weapons, and we are hanging on to them just as a flex. That is an insane drop for that dungeon. That just goes to show that the RNG of this game is absolutely bonkers. That you can have busted things happen, and that you can play this game for thousands and thousands of hours and still never see those busted things happen. Yet another chest that we've attempted to open that we cannot carry what's inside. Likely another toned weapon. Both players still need a fair amount of items to go from these Atlamolia. So far, it doesn't appear that either player has skipped any of the Atla on any floor. But getting a really good look at what the Bandit Slingshot is capable of, as even these mimics are very short work to kill. Looks like we got Baron's house on Casual's side. That is another place where you can find a power-up powder. Stackacheeseburgers gate key was accepted, so we are done killing here for the time being. We're just going to loot as much items and Atla as we want. Unupgraded for farming purposes. That's not a terrible thing. I take it by that you just you're stealing from enemies that you know have good drops. Looks like Stackacheeseburgers has got the much better item of Steve. If you haven't used Steve, you're missing out. You either love Steve or you hate Steve. That's a fact. It makes sense. If you've got a chance to steal from every hit and you've got a weaker weapon, then yeah, you're absolutely going to make a better use out of it. DC1 Steve better than DC2 Steve? Now, those are fighting words. They're correct, but, you know, they're fighting words. Break down the Bandit Slingshot, put it into Steve. Yeah, that's a choice. Who has a love for Dark Cloud, if you've never played the second game, it is an experience I highly recommend. Was that another Steve? Double Steve? Looks like we attacked a witch. That was wondering if we were making questionable decisions. So both players still virtually neck and neck. Significant progress towards any of the Atla. However, we do still have this floor and another 2 to go. No keys for casual, so we're not exiting this floor just yet. Some river pieces for both players. Gotta watch out for those fleas. They can do some pretty nasty damage with those clouds. I believe they're poison clouds, not gooey clouds. You get a river piece, you should not still be thirsty. So I would argue that the river piece does not contain any water. It just helps build the trenches. It's the second small sword I've seen out of a chest. Can't recall who got the first one. Lots of antidotes here. Might want to start clearing some inventory since we've taken the time to open a menu. We might be pulling ahead back again by a stack of cheeseburgers as we are on floor 7. Go ahead and swap our audio over, see what's going on over here. Looks like we are poisoned. Most likely have plenty of things to take care of that poison. It may be our last repair powder. We might be seeing a very early shop here for stack of cheeseburgers. Though we healed our health, we took care of our thirst, we did not remove our poison. Still choosing to unlock those giant chests. There's been quite a few big chests in this race. Absolutely. This is a far cry from what we've seen before, where chests were not as plentiful. Although inventory issues still getting the better of these players, even though we've got more pockets on average than I believe any race previous. Neither player having the best gate key luck. Casual is going to join Stack of Cheeseburgers here on floor 7. He wants a third Steve. Yeah, it's better than... What's better than one Steve? 2. And what's better than 2? Absolutely. We're going for a third Steve. The ever-elusive Mr. Mustache, so we could likely set up a second shop if we wanted to. We're not going to. There's no reason for it. Still doesn't like that key. We're looking for the last one here for Stack of Cheeseburgers. Looks like Zhao is struggling over here for Casual Speedrun. Likely just going to watch that death happen. Let our revival powder do the work. Not entirely certain which these players are using, whether it's console or emulator, but emulator absolutely is allowed. It does not have any distinct advantages if you build the settings to the specifications found through speedrun.com. Now, there are certain things that the emulator is going to be a little bit better at. Most of your loads are going to be a little bit more consistent. but there is no distinct speed advantage. Now, our last run between Word of Wind and Mike Zord, both did have, or both of those players were running on console, whereas our first run, myself and Sonic was running on console, whereas I did use the emulator. I think for the question of accessibility, I think it's nice that emulators are comparable. As we get further and further away from the original hardware, it is definitely harder and harder to have and find original hardware to run with. Alright, finding some more river pieces. Likely to be the only thing remaining for Stack Cheeseburger. Finding some repair powder in there. We do know Stack Cheeseburger is limited on the amount of repair powder right now, so any repair powder that can be found is going to prolong needing to leave and go to the shop. This might be why we're not seeing as much usage out right now. Premium water. Anybody who's played this game casually knows how exciting premium water can be. Regular water, tasty water, only heals so much. That premium water is going to heal a lot more. PSN version is comparable for PS2 as well. So yes, if you were submitting a console run, you could submit using a PS4 or PS5. Those runs are allowed and accepted. There isn't even a different category. You would submit to the same console category. Now, I know from back in the day, the PS2 did have some slight differences when trying to utilize some of the glitches available for the game. So if you're trying to run the true 80% category, or if you were trying to run any of the other glitch categories, I know the PS2 had it could freeze. You could lock your game if you did not do those inputs exactly. There were workarounds where you did a trick called controller buffering. That's where you disconnect your controller, you select your inputs and hold your inputs as you're reconnecting your controller to guarantee that you get all of those inputs all at one time. Those glitches, as far as I'm aware, do still all work on the PS4 and PS5 versions of the game. Nothing was changed for the game. I do not, however, know if controller buffering is still necessary. Broken Dagger Glitch was never really a glitch that was worrisome as far as needing to controller buffer. It was the money glitch and all of the other back-end menuing that was the problem. So Broken Dagger absolutely does still function. Now, the Broken Dagger glitch is one of those that, while it is fun to use, the game slowly descends into madness the more and more daggers you spawn. So that is definitely something to be aware of. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers has his key accepted. We are moving on from floor 8 to floor 9, most likely. All right. So we might have all of the pieces we need. We may need to do a little bit of backtracking. I do believe we've gathered every atlet to this point, so I don't believe any backtracking is going to be necessary here. Alright, we are doing some setup, so it doesn't look like backtracking is going to be necessary. We've got everything as far as this particular racing moment is concerned. Now, Casual still has plenty of other places to look for. Still looking for a couple of dead ends, a couple more Atla. May very well need a couple more river pieces from what it looks like we were examining. I think when it comes to the broken daggers, if that's what we're still discussing, it's definitely when you start getting into like double digits of broken daggers, you know, 20, 30 daggers. And I don't think it's limited to necessarily how many you have on your person at any one time. I think it's more so of just the more daggers you pull out of your menu, the game code is just a little wonky. So we are building these rivers, reconnecting it. So that's going to allow us access to the treant one more time, who's going to give us our serpent dagger so that we can progress through the second half of the dungeon. We did also build Cacao's house. He is a bard of sorts that he remembers quite a lot because, you know, what's a good bard if not a good storyteller? And he's going to tell us about the what happened here with Goro's father and give us a way that we can summon our little snake friend and avenge Goro's father. Now, once we reconnect this river, it does allow Baron's house to drop that bonus power-up powder as well. So if the players are in need of increasing their weapon strength, that is something that's going to be happening very soon. Both players, yes, still doing very well, still keeping very close proximity. I would say Stack of Cheeseburgers is just slightly ahead as we have finished the majority of our cutscenes, while Casual is still needing to go and talk with Cacao. All right, already tracking down Annie, so we're not even worried necessarily about having Poe, or Ro, rather. We're just going to go ahead and acknowledge what she wants for her house. Now, the things that are needed for the house are a second story and a balcony. These aren't things that we're going to find until we get to that second half of the dungeon. Precisely, we are looking for exactly 3 items amongst just about 10 floors. So not a whole lot of things that we need, but a whole lot of space where we can find it. All right, somebody needs to tell the treant to cover his mouth. We just got sneezed on, but in that sneeze, we managed to dodge getting mutilated by the serpent sword. So that serpent sword is going to be useful. It is the only thing that can take down the serpent here on floor 9 when we encounter our next duel. Another opportunity for a useful gem, although I would say neither player really needs it. Is this the most popular run of the game? You know, it kind of varies. I would say this is the most race friendly. But as far as the run, I believe more runners gravitate towards just the any percent glitchless than any of the other runs. I think that's where we absolutely see the most submissions. Now, if you like credit skips, any percent can be a very interesting run. But if anybody's familiar with, say, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, this game does include a credit skip. So there's very little gameplay that happens with the any percent run. You are manipulating menus just to go directly to credits. Utan percent is really nice. Now there are other categories that utilize glitches. There's your town percent, which is using the broken dagger to clear it in a more or less 80% fashion. There is also the no warp category, which allows you more access to various glitches, but does include visiting each dungeon and actually encountering those bosses. Um, in the no warp category is close to this one as far as runtime of 2.5 hours, 3 hours, just depending on your luck. All right, Stack of Cheeseburgers has dispatched that serpent, chose to duel the werewolves. Now, you can skip the werewolves by walking through the trigger point with a character that's not Tone. Now, you will have to continuously do that because anytime you enter the floor and they have not been cleared, you will still need to use a separate character. Tone is the only character that triggers that event to happen. So we'll see if that gets used here for Casual. Casual already doing a shop run before we get to our serpent, while Stack of Cheeseburger is recruiting our second character. Now, we give Goro the skull necklace. This was his father's necklace, and this is just proof that, unfortunately, his father is not going to return. No warping isn't very marathon or race friendly. Yes, it is not. It is heavily reliant on RNG, but you can mitigate a lot of that RNG through the use of unlocking dungeon floors rather than fighting for gate keys and then just using statistics to target specific floors for, items rather than going floor to floor. So there's things that can be done to help. Now, it's not guaranteed success, obviously. Nothing in this game ever is. And as we know with Dark Cloud, if it could go wrong, it will go wrong. So both players choosing to do the werewolf fight might be for gem reasons. Looks like we've gotten yet another emerald. Emerald has shown up several times this run. Stack of Cheeseburgers moving on to Naroon to do another shop. This could be the last shop for both players, just depending on how the rest of this run goes. We might see another one right before battling Master Utan. Just depends on where we are as far as money, space, and bomb count is concerned. Keeping a couple of those antidotes just in case we need them. Stocking up on more Dran's Feathers, bombs, revival powder. Everything we need to keep moving fast. Now, I highly recommend that you keep your money count as low as possible. The reason for that is there are 3 ways to exit a dungeon. Either the gate key getting you off that floor, you have a leave option through your menu, or death. Death being the not so optimal one, but if you choose to leave a dungeon area, you've got 1 of 2 things that'll happen. Well, rather, 1 of 3 things that'll happen. If you've got escape powder, you just leave, no big deal. If there are no more enemies, you also just leave, no big deal. If enemies are remaining on the dungeon floor, you will sacrifice half of your total gold amount when leaving. So keeping that gold balance as low as possible, definitely going to be very useful in case you need to make a quick exit or an unfavorable exit. As we see Goro's challenging obstacle here, just playing a little bit of whack-a-mole so we can get past that door. And it looks like Casual is recruiting Goro, so just the last little bit of things that I think are needed before he can go back into the dungeon himself. Yes, gold bullions are the way of saving money, as well as utilizing your storage, which is available at every village, and it will be a universal storage. So your hag, I don't remember the big Goron looking fella here, but absolutely. Keep those gold bullions. Store them away. Keep them for a rainy day. Couscous is the best storage. I mean, I prefer the Fairy King, but you know, that's just me. Stack of Cheeseburgers, returning to this dungeon. Again, we are looking for just 3 items. We need Annie's husband, Ro. We also are looking for the 2nd story of the Mushroom House in the balcony to go on top. And again, we've got from floor 10 all the way up to floor 18. 18 being the boss floor. Excuse me, 17. Brain's not firing on all cylinders. Can't remember. But we got quite a few floors to travel through to find a very small amount of items. Any player that happens to find them early now would likely gain a substantial lead, as all they have to do is just find their exit keys and get out as fast as possible. Pushing that bandit slingshot to its limit, but again, not so much of an issue because we are only losing 1 durability per pellet that's fired. That's going to give us a huge amount of durability to work with. Choosing to use bombs on the moles, as the moles can be quite problematic. They do like to move very quickly, although Zhao can shoot them while they are in the ground. They are not immune to damage just because they are buried. Still opting to open up more of these large chests. Do not have our mustache key, so again, trying to navigate through these tight corridors with enemies and getting caught on the roots of those trees. Again, the diagonal running that makes this game optimal. Very difficult in the Wise Owl Forest, especially when you encounter a group of enemies that you don't particularly want to fight. As we saw, we had to dispatch a Hornet. That Hornet is not going to drop a gate key, so we lose. It is just a lose-lose for killing those Hornets. And we see the trouble with mimics, especially with Zhao, when they're jumping in their erratic movements. We shot several times, and those pellets just missed straight under the target, most likely, as we shot as the target was low, and then he went high, preventing us from hitting. Goro can also deal with moles. Yeah, I would say so. Now, I personally, again, with Goro, it's a charge shot no matter what. Now, the second half of this dungeon, we might start seeing some choices of abandoning Atla on the floor. That could grow a sizable lead for any player that chooses to do so if we get favorable keys. The odds of finding the 3 pieces that we need are just as good on floor 10 as they are on floor 16, which makes exiting early a good potential time save. Looks like we did go ahead and make a somewhat of an early exit for Stack Cheeseburgers, as we are on floor 11. Haven't found any one of the 3 that we're looking for just yet, but it's only a matter of time. Now that Halloween, one of the many frustrating enemies here for the forest, because they drop, or not drop, but they throw bomb nuts, so that the explosive damage of that being very, very high. And I personally find that any enemy that that throws items has absolute sniper-like precision. They tend to know where they're throwing, and by golly, they're gonna get you. Bomb nuts not as strong as bombs, but they do make a good alternative if need be. More times than not, though, we're going to see that those bomb nuts get sold in favor of purchasing more bombs. Two gate keys for Stack Cheeseburger here, so we are looking pretty good. If we find the exit, this might be a cut and run situation. Doesn't appear to be really any Atla left on this floor. As Casual, yet again, not far behind. Choosing to run down, it looks like, for that last chest. Excuse me, last Atla. Now, it's very difficult to see what color these things are. Casual has looted the balcony. That's one of the 3 items we're looking for. So what we're looking for are 3 things out of our Atla. We need Ro, who is Annie's husband, joins her in the mushroom house. We need the 2nd floor to the mushroom house as well as the balcony. Looks like Stacka has looted Ro. So now both players, again, just 1 item down and 2 to go. Now, as far as what the players are looking for in chest, you know, it's anybody's guess what necessarily they're thinking as far as that's concerned. At this point in the run, I would say both players have already got as much money as they really need, but that's largely what's going to come out of those chests, are just things to sell. You could end up with a dungeon key inside of those chests, the mustache key, that's going to help get through some of those obstacles. But more times than not, we're just looting things that can be sold because we don't care about the magic crystal. We don't care about the map. We're going to get through that dungeon just fine without it. Now, we are seeing a Goro-only floor here for Stack Cheeseburgers. So this is a floor where you are required to use Goro and only Goro. So we're going to opt to use our bombs so that we don't have to deal with our underpowered weapon. And then really all we need to do is find our exit keys and get out as fast as possible because we are stuck with Goro and only Goro. There are no Atlamalia on this floor. Tone is not required, he's not needed. So the faster we can get off this floor, the better. Reading the map was a nightmare on old TVs. You know, it's quite funny. When this game came out, CRTs were still pretty much the default as far as televisions were concerned. Flat screens weren't really there. LEDs weren't really there. So, you know, a lot of developers actually built their game around the distortion that those domed TVs were going to provide. And that's why a lot of times if you were to, say, play you know, Super Mario Brothers through an emulator, it doesn't always look as good as you remember. 2-3 for Casual. Do we know which one dropped? I think it was Ro. Ro was already for Casual. I've got that one marked. I've got a tracker. I'm keeping track of exactly what we're looking at, so I'll just mark one. It'll be all right. But 2 of 3 is very good for floor 11. That is definitely going to give us a huge advantage. Testing out these gate keys, see if we've got the ones we need to get off of this Goro floor. And we have, so we are moving on to the next one for Stack of Cheeseburgers. Now, depending on how long Casual spends on his own Goro floor, this could be the pull ahead that we start to see. Although having 2 of 3 of the items versus just 1 of 3 of the items could also make a significant difference in getting through here faster. Checking already just to see what we have and what we don't. So our bandit slingshot is heading up to level 5 for Casual. That is a very strong slingshot. Have not really needed any of the power-up powders that have been available. Not likely to see any use for this particular run. Stack of Cheeseburger not waiting on the animation for those upgrades. Looks like that slingshot might still be at base level. Casual moving on to the limited zone for just the Goro only floors, so we'll see how quickly we can get out of that floor and back in this race. Bomb uses here for Stack of Cheeseburgers. That could mean the difference of having enough bombs for the final boss and not. Just depends on how good we've been able to keep up with our money. And a very quick exit of the Goro floor for Casual speedrun. So we are still in it. This is anybody's race still. I would say even a slight advantage for Casual speedrun, given that we only have 1 more item to find. Both players looting a sign from our Atlamalia. It was a very good Goro floor, absolutely. That exit was right there, that key was right there. Everything we needed, everything lined up just perfectly for Casual, for sure. With the best RNG, I would say we are anywhere from 15, maybe 20 minutes away from this run. Just depends on how kind this Atla wants to be with us. Already have our shiny stone for Casual. Still just need that one lucky Atlamalia. See, we are opting for using our slingshot for these moles rather than our bombs. Could be because we are very limited with our bombs at this moment. There's 1 more room here for Stack of Cheeseburger, so we're opting to go ahead and grab this last Atla. And not a useful item that we were hoping for. Still looking for 2 of the 3 items for Stack of Cheeseburger. Looks like we threw that bomb and unfortunately got hit with it ourselves. Not as useful as we could hope for. Stack Cheeseburger choosing to locate those Atla as fast as possible. We are skipping those enemies. We'll save that for when we hit a dead end. Looks like the exit could be right behind, so we could go ahead and pop over, check, turn in that key, and see if it is accepted. Looks like we're going to hold off on that and just search these rooms first. Nothing useful from those enemies to this point. Although we may have gotten another gate key. There's our shiny stone. So I believe we're 2 gate keys in. Alright, nothing accepted there. And it looks like we were only 1 gate key for that. So we do need to go ahead and locate the other 2. If we get a quick key off of either one of these enemies, we can go and check again without having to kill too many more. And casual speedrunning, just needing 1 more item. Unclear which one we're looking for, if it's the balcony or the 2nd floor. But either one of those, that's all we need. Looks like we may be out of bombs for casual. We've hit our repair powder, so we need to re-up on our tools. Down to our very last repair powder. We definitely want to be as careful as possible. We catch those for in the event of any type of emergency. That was still not being kind on these last couple of items. Lots of signs here in this one, as well as stairways and torches. They are littered all over this dungeon, as practically every house has one. Is RNG? I would say for Stack a Cheeseburger, we are not having the greatest RNG on this floor. I believe Stacka has had the most unfavorable exit keys, as well as only having 1 of 3 of the necessary items on floor 14. I don't believe that many, if any, Atla have been skipped at this point, so it's not great, but he's still in the running. There's no clear winner at this point. Yeah, just a bit worse than expected. It's not ideal, but you know, we're not doing too bad. So far, Stack a Cheeseburgers does have the sundew that's required to get to Master Utan, whereas I have not seen one from Casual. So Casual will need to, at this moment, get the story sundew, which isn't so much of a problem as it's just going to take a little bit more time. Now, we are on floor 15 and for Stack a Cheeseburgers, and we are still missing 2 of those items. We need the 2nd floor and we need the balcony. Now, we are likely to see a lot of that luck changing because, again, the percentage chance of finding those items is the same regardless of what Atla between floor 10 and the boss. So it could be anywhere.
Both players running around with Goro a lot longer than I would have chosen to. Stack is not getting any dungeon keys despite the enemies dropping plenty of items here for us. That sound is very unique and very jarring, and anybody who's run this game, you'll hear it, you'll turn around, you'll see it's not that key, and you'll wonder, how could you be so unlucky? Mess up the point, you get the quack. And again, no keys, just items. And we're still missing the 2 items we need. Finally getting that gate key. But do we have the mustache key? We do, so we can keep progressing this direction. Lots of Atla to search right here, it looks like. Are we going to get this big chest? It is a mimic. This could be an exit for us. Alright, Casual is done with all of the Atla Mali that are required for this portion. So all we're looking for at this point are gate keys, and we're out of here. So we can just use Zhao and we can just keep on running. Stack is still throwing those bombs to kill enemies rather than using our weapons of choice. Already 1 key for casual speedrun. And Stackus keys are not accepted at the moment. And there we go, the owl has chosen his offering. No mustache key getting through that door. Now, Stack of Cheeseburgers on the final floor before the boss. We're on floor 16. This is our last chance to get the Atla that we need without having to backtrack to locate any potentially missing Atla. I do believe there was an early exit on one particular floor, but so far most Atla has been acquired. We did see a level up powder, although at this point in the run that level up powder is not really useful. That level up powder really only going to be used to help upgrade the Serpent Sword or build up another weapon into the Serpent Sword, or vice versa, add those weapons to a better slingshot for Zhao as she does the majority of damage at this point. Those weapons ideally should not be used against Utan whatsoever, as we're going to have bombs to dispatch and take care of that one. Now, casually, 100% love to see those level up powders. Definitely want to make use of those. Ow, much less of an issue here for Stack of Cheeseburgers, as the issue is predominantly the fact that we don't have those pieces that we need. Now we do have the second floor, we just don't have the row. The old man is still missing. We have row, but not the balcony. Did he add it already and I missed it? Last enemy key on floor 15. Yeah, that's definitely not ideal. Now, again, casual having everything that's needed. If we can get a quick exit on this floor, the real time consumption for casual is going to be grabbing that sundew from Ro and Annie's house. We don't need any items at this point. We're just trying to get out of here as quickly as possible. Now we see a Fruit of Eden being used by Stack a Cheeseburger. That Fruit of Eden is going to fully heal you as well as give you an additional 10 HP. Those were grabbed early on back into Rune Village. We did get our balcony for Stack a Cheeseburger, so this looks like Stack has everything that is required, so we just need to get out of this floor and onto Goro as fast as possible. That was a very, very late acquisition here by Stack of Cheeseburgers with casual right on his heels. Now, Stack of Cheeseburger is looking for an exit key still. I don't know for 1 key or 2 keys, but we are still looking on how to get out of this floor. Now, just 1 room and very little enemies left to go, so it is only a matter of time. Just how quickly can casual get off of this floor and right into that boss. We are beelining straight for the exit here for Stack of Cheeseburgers. This could be everything. All right, Shiny Stone was accepted. Now it does look like casual found what they needed as well to get off of this floor, beating Stack of Cheeseburgers out of the dungeon. Now, both of them still need to fully build this house and speak to Ro so that we can find out what is required. What is Ro looking for? Casual, having talked to Annie already, only needed to speak to Ro, who was conveniently right outside of his house. So we have already finished putting this together. Now, we were told that Casual was looking for a 230 finish. It looks like Casual should be very happy with how this is going to end. Now, they are always going to give you a tour. They want you to come up on the balcony and, you know, their special requests as far as where they want to be in the village. They want to be placed high up into the air. So you get 2 mounds of Earth, Earth A and Earth B. Doesn't really matter which you use, but they want to be higher up in elevation and then just have a wonderful view. So if you delightfully stick them in a corner where their view is not that great, I personally enjoy doing that. Ro is a lot tougher than me. I'd be out for the count for weeks. They are just built differently here in this world. But giving us the grass seed that we need, that grass seed along with the sundew is what is going to give us the stairway up to Master Utan, because we need a plant staircase. No ladder would have done it. No assortment of rocks would have done it. We could only use this grass plant. Now we're doing some inventory management, clearing up all of the things that we don't need. We're making room for as many bombs as possible. Looks like we're getting rid of those level up powders as well. We didn't upgrade any weapons. We didn't need to. We had everything that we needed. Casual was loaded when it came to weaponry. Now it's about 32 bombs, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely a lot. Definitely a lot. And I don't believe we have as many as we need for casual. Now, casual also does not have the sundew yet. Has not picked it up. We're going to find that out very, very shortly, and we're going to have to run back out of this dungeon. This might be what cost casual this race. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers may have gone to the wrong dungeon floor. We've got the end of race jitters affecting both players here. We don't have a sundew for casual, and Stack of Cheeseburgers going to the wrong floor. We have to make another exit and re-entrance into this dungeon. This might hopefully give casual the chance that's needed to stay in this race. Now, we do know exactly where we're going for that sundew. We beelined it straight back to the mushroom house, and we're going to climb up this ladder here as quickly as we possibly can, getting trolled by that miracle chest right down there at the bottom. But we got what we needed. We're heading back to that dungeon floor. Now, we've already planted the grass seed. This might be just the amount of animation needed to help keep things on pace. All right, we are neck and neck. It just comes down to RNG at this point. Are we going to be able to keep Master Utan in a damage loop? Are we going to be able to spend our bombs in a timely manner, or are we going to exhaust them much faster than anticipated? Now, Stack of Cheeseburgers has plenty of experience on glitchless runs, and I believe this bomb technique is used for the vast majority of it. Looks like there may have been a bit of a delay as far as that dialogue was concerned, but here we go, Master Utan. So the goal for both runners is going to be to take those bombs, and we're going to throw them at Master Utan's feet, and we're going to keep him in a damage loop that keeps him reeling backwards as we continue to do more and more damage to him. Looks like we got hit with that bomb, and that definitely is not going to look great, but we have got ourselves in the damage loop already, while casual is loading up on bombs on multiple different slots here. Not getting hit by that bomb is definitely saving just a little bit of time for casual. Although we did get hit, although it looked like it might have been hit by Master Utan, not the explosion itself. A little bit of mishap with the inventory. We do need to load up on bombs so we can keep this damage loop going. And Stack of Cheeseburgers has done it, finishing Master Utan just seconds before casual speedrunning here. And casual done as well. Very well done. Very close race. 10 seconds apart. We're going to extend an invite to both of them, have them come join us here in the commentary, and see how they felt about that run. GG's both runners. What a great showing. Very, very close race, start to finish. You know, we did see some differences here, but very, very close. This tournament has been absolutely wild so far. You know, the first race we had, there was a difference of 22 seconds. This one coming in at just 10-second difference. You know, and it is a great showing for Dark Cloud. We have done very well. And the fun continues. This is not the last race we're doing. We do have more races. I don't believe that another one is scheduled just yet, but if you haven't followed Speed Gaming yet, definitely feel free to follow Speed Gaming. Stay up to date on when you can expect those next races, and we're gonna have these players come up, and we'll see how they feel, how tough those jitters are. Looks like Stack of Cheeseburgers choosing to ceremoniously end the run. Use up the rest of those bombs. Master Utan very forgetful, no idea what happened. Didn't realize he had been taken over by the Dark Genie. Not so much taken over, it's just influenced. Just a little influence. Yeah, if either one runner wants to join us here for just a small interview at the end of the run. There we are, as we're joined here by Stack of Cheeseburgers. Good congratulations here on that victory. You pulled ahead last second here. It was quite the run.
Barely, eh?
Yeah.
I think
So
we
I
both
actually
sort of
did.
made mistakes at the wrong time, eh?
Yeah. I actually did get a Sundew, speaking of mistakes, but I sold it. Classic.
Oh, see, this is what happened when I raced against Sonic. I had gotten several Sundew and managed to sell all of them. So it was definitely very wild. So I don't know if you guys know, but you kept that race very close almost the entire way
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, we were like, checking in with each other, and I would watch the speed gaming every once in a while. I'd look over and also see, the troll command dark dark cloud claiming all the victims in chat.
That command leaving everybody wondering what is actually happening here.
Who's Utan? What is it?
This? Nobody knows what this speedrun is about. So that was wild. You guys got the bandit slingshot almost about the same time. It looked like Stacky, you weren't having much luck in the way of weapons early on.
Yeah, it was real rough. 3 visits to the mayor.
Yeah, I got super lucky in that department.
Of course.
And then getting full of weapons later.
Casual over here, just with an absolute arsenal with Tone and opening up chests in the Wise Owl Forest that can't even loot them.
Yeah, I actually almost got every sword that you can get in Divine Beast Cave. I only needed a kitchen knife.
When you looted that Bazlard, we had made the comment of, the only worst option from there would have been the kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a very great showing from either one of you. Casual, I guess we'll start with you. If the viewers here wanted to watch you, where could they go?
Twitch.tv/casualspeedrun. Casual speedrun everywhere. Always the same spelling.
Excellent. And Snacka, how about you? Where can the viewers come find you?
Twitch.tv/stackacheeseburgers. Yeah, I've also got a YouTube where I upload streams afterwards. Yeah, if there's anything people are like, oh, you've already played that, want to watch, that's there, but yeah.
Wonderful. And just one more, maybe a little bit more on the personal side. How many cheeseburgers are required for it to be a stack?
I think 3 counts as a stack, but I think 4 is an impressive stack.
Excellent. Well, these runners did very good. Stack of Cheeseburgers is going to move on to the next winners round, but Casual is not out of it yet. We do have a losers bracket we will get to eventually. So see more from these runners. Definitely feel free to drop a follow to any one of them. I have been Ryushin. That's going to be Ryushin91 here on Twitch and on YouTube. And we just look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Make sure that you haven't, that you drop a follow for Speed Gaming as well for any and all of the events that they like to host here. Very wonderful channel. Very happy that they decided to allow us on. So thank you very much again, Speed Gaming. And that's our time. Any last words here from our runners?
Fix the command. Sorry, I didn't say that. Sorry, no, I'm happy that we were able to do this. Love this game, so really fun to learn this run for the tournament and, you know, come play.
Yeah, I love seeing everyone active in the community now. It's real cool doing this tournament.
It's been a good time. You know, this was a new run for me too. So more to come here from Speed Gaming and Dark Cloud. Thanks again, everybody, for your time. We're out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace, guys.